Derby.
Now they move around the turn. The leader, Baffert, 2.5 for
McGaughey is in the center of the race. The Adel Sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem is pulling away. He's got another gear. Yeah, the French thing coming the Derby. Wheel away takes command. Lionheart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here is the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle's Slow of 1976.
It's Monday. It's officially Kentucky Derby week. The buzz continues to build. The horsemen putting the finishing touches on the final preparations for their contenders. Time for the morning workout show presented by TwinSpires.com. Under the Twin Spires of Churchill Downs, temperatures in the upper 40s. Main track is rated as fast. Let's take a look at the headlines. Looking back to yesterday, and the Bilma duo of Tacitus and Country House got some unexpected company in their workout in the form of Derby contender Win and a stablemate. More on that later. Long Range Toddy set to breeze this morning for trainer Steve Asmussen. Kentucky Oaks contender Restless Rider also set for breeze. And the Kentucky Oaks card will be drawn today, 10:45 a.m. Same channels, Aristides Lounge. Looking very forward to drawing the Friday card, including the Kentucky Oaks. Joe Christopher alongside Brandon Staubel. And Brandon, yesterday was a fun day. We got to see some very important workouts, the probable code of honor, also by my standards. But the most fun workout was that unexpected simulated race that we saw.
Yeah, even we were a little surprised. Ended up seeing 4 horses together, and great job by the riders. Everybody's talking about what a professional job the riders did. The team on the outside, Win, and his mate taking back, letting the Mott duo go. But then the rider on Win still needed to get something out of the drill, so he asked his horse late down the lane. It was impressive. Nice job by everybody keeping everything safe.
Yeah, I expected to have trainer Michael Trombetta. Interested to hear his thoughts. Also, you and I are going to take a closer look at exactly what happened with some video as well. As I mentioned, the buzz continues to build. A lot more people on the backstretch as we go day to day and moving forward towards this weekend. Third member of our team, James Scully. He's back there. James?
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Brandon. Yes, I'm here on the backstretch, and a beautiful morning here at the Lucas Gap. Got a good crowd filtering in. We won't have as many Kentucky Derby workers, but we do have one Long Range Toddy scheduled to go, and we'll see some other horses out there galloping on the track for the Kentucky Derby.
Well, thanks, James. Looking very forward to some reports from you throughout the morning, including an interview with trainer Michael Trombetta. As you see the horses leaving the racetrack, we're about to have a renovation break here at Churchill Downs. 7:30 in the morning will be that designated workout time for the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks contenders. And Brandon, I don't know. Is it too early or is it not? It may be, it may be not, but we're going to show it to you anyways. It's the Kentucky Derby Day weather forecast. And again, if this is accurate and the weathermen are right and they pick the Kentucky Derby winner, it's going to be a beautiful day.
Yeah, even partly cloudy has 72. Keep the humidity somewhat under control. We're okay with that. And you just have to pray at this point, Joe. That's all we can really do.
Yeah, can't control Mother Nature, but after the last couple of years, this certainly looks like a godsend. Let's take a look at the Kentucky Derby points leaderboard, and no changes, Brandon. Same 20 horses we've been looking at from the outset. We did have a rider named yesterday, though, for Grand Magician.
Yeah, Drayden Van Dyke going to get the opportunity for Peter Miller, and nice to see, too. Everybody seems to be coming in relatively healthy. There's no real questions with anybody, so unless something unfortunate happens, this is going to be your field.
Bodie Express, the maiden on the outside looking in, along with Signal Man, who has been training well. It looks like Swainyo is going to repoint to the Preakness Stakes. He's number 23, and he'd need 3 defections in order to get into the Kentucky Derby field. Seems unlikely at this point. Let's send it back to James Scully. He has a very special guest. Going to take a look back at a very curious workout yesterday that was unplanned, but turned out okay in the long run. James?
Yes, Joe, I'm pleased to be joined by Michael Trombetta, trainer of Kentucky Derby contender, win, win, win. And Michael, yesterday was something a lot of people have never seen before for Kentucky Derby Works. Win, win, win was out there with a workmate. Another pair of Kentucky Derby runners joined the fray, forcing him like 4 wide on the turn and into the stretch. I was just wondering, what were you thinking when that was developing, and what was your take on how the work went?
Well, it was something we weren't expecting. So, I didn't know what to think initially, but fortunately, everybody stayed in their lanes and it all worked out well. And I think everybody was satisfied with the workout that they, still received.
He win. I mean, really, I thought re-engaged the pair to his inside in the lane. How did he come out of that move, and what were you concerned at all when you were watching that?
Well, I was a little worried that how it was going to all end up, but it ended up real well. Everybody got to do what they needed to, and he looks, like he's come out of it well.
Yeah, that's him on the far outside, Michael. Didn't think that. Were you like wanting Julian to go ahead and keep going like he was, like to the wire?
Well, I'm glad he was on him because he's familiar with him, and he knew what we were trying to get accomplished, and they did just that.
I wanted to ask you about Win-Win-Win's run style. In his first couple of races, he showed speed in those. Here of late, he's become more of a confirmed closer, closing off the pace in the Tampa Bay Derby and the Bluegrass Stakes. Where do you expect him? Will you discuss tactics with the jockey, and where do you expect him to be in the early stages of the Kentucky Derby?
Well, obviously, we'll discuss it, but so much relies on how well he breaks, what kind of position he gets. He's going to have all these things in mind, well before we even talk. So, we'll just have to see what kind of draw we get and where we go from there.
As far as his development, he didn't run in his first 2-turn start until the Tampa Bay Derby 2 races ago. Came back with an improved effort in the Bluegrass. Are you anticipating another step forward in his third 2-turn start in the Kentucky Derby?
Well, this is the biggest challenge yet, but hopefully that's what we're hoping for.
And you've been training for more than 30 years. Win is a Florida-bred son of Hat Trick, who is a son of Sunday Silence, 1989 Kentucky Derby Sunday Silence. And Sunday Silence was an athletic colt, not that big, especially compared to Easy Goer, but nearly black. And Win, I think, has like the same physical makeup. Are you aware of any similarities between the 1989 Kentucky Derby winner and Win?
Well, I do know that Sunday Silence was a bit of a handful, and he had a reputation for that, and this guy can be a handful at times as well. So, and the color is definitely similar.
And one final question. This is your second time in the Kentucky Derby, your first experience. Sweet Northern Saint in 2006 ran 7th. Anything you've taken from that experience is different the second time around? And what do you think about the being back here on the backstretch of Churchill Downs?
Well, it's a lot of fun. It's what we all work all season to get to, and to have a horse that gets you here is what we're all looking for.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. We really appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck with Win in the Kentucky Derby.
Thank you.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Michael. Julian Pimentel, first-time Kentucky Derby jockey. Michael Trombetta actually had the favorite Sweet Northern Saints the year that Barbaro won back in 2006. 1,700 wins, 10 graded stakes wins. And he said it, Brandon, this is what every trainer dreams about, being at the Kentucky Derby. And I think Win is a sneaky contender. He certainly has made a nice impression physically on the racetrack as we take a look back to yesterday's workout once again.
Yeah, got to see him gallop on Saturday and kind of caught the eye a little bit. I mean, he on the screen he looks kind of a little bit on the smaller side, but actually when you see him in person, he's a medium-sized colt, and you can see him here. He's 4 wide right now, and actually when this hits the quarter pole, you're going to see him float almost 5 wide on the turn, so he's pretty wide in here.
Again, Country House on the rail, Tacitus on the outside for Bill Mott, Win at a stablemate.
Yeah, and you can see he kind of gets floated by the stablemate almost about 5 wide there, and he's going to ask Win just a little bit, a couple of times there to kind of pick it up, and then he'll ask him one more time, but I like the way when he did it the second time, he kind of picked it up for him, and he's going to go past the Mott team there, but the Mott team worked well. They actually worked faster than what it looked. Minute flat for the Mott team, but 47 and change for Win, kind of doing it easy to the wire. Once he asked him a couple of times, he kind of took off and was good. He still has some questions to answer, the 2-turn questions, but we also like the fact that we talked about it yesterday. He's re-engaging Win, that is the Mott team on the gallop out, and wants to have a head in front, and you'd like to see that in the morning competitions.
Yeah, the track was very fast yesterday. There was some moisture. It was tight. The times were fast. We'll talk more about that as the show goes on. It could have gotten to be a very messy situation with those extra horses in the four-team workout, which looked more like a little bit like a simulated race. Bill Mott, curious to hear if he was concerned at all about how things went.
Well, you know, when you first see them, you hope that they don't drop over in front of you, because we had already started our work before the 5 furlong pole. And but the other team did a very good job. They were very courteous. They stayed out. They let us continue our work. And then they swung wide, and the one horse joined up with us finishing up. It turned out great. I mean, it didn't do any harm to us, and I'll commend Julian Pimentel. He worked win, and he did a very good job, and he was courteous and worked out good for everybody. I think probably worked out just as well for them as it did for us. The gallop out was very good for all of them. I mean, I didn't have a wash on them, but the clockers say they went out 3/4 and 12 7/8 and 26. So that's racehorse time, and takes a good horse to do that. It should be enough as far as conditioning wise, and the fact that we saw them work well, gives you a good feeling that they're coming into it the right way.
All right, so we heard from Michael Trombetta. We heard from Bill Mott. They were not concerned about how things played out, at least publicly. Any concerns from you, Brandon? You watch this stuff happen every morning. Win, got competitive there, was asked for a little bit, ran at a couple targets. Is this work going to take anything out of him in particular?
I don't think so, but I mean, that's why we're out here in the mornings. We want to see the horse come out of the work. That's one of the most important things. How did they come out of the work? The work was good for everybody, but how did they come out? You'd like to see Country House, Tacitus also kind of get competitive there on the gallop out. Bill Mott very happy in there, and Bill's not one to really, let him crank him too much in that final work. So I think he was happy. He didn't want to go any quicker than that. 112 is a great gallop out time.
Yeah, all's well that ends well. Another horse that worked solo yesterday, and he did it very quickly, was Code of Honor for Shug McGaughey. Brandon, what do you see here?
Yeah, we knew this was a good work yesterday, but a little surprised at the time. Now, the track is very quick. We did get some rain yesterday morning, little sprinkle, tighten the track up a little bit in here, but Code of Honor moving freely here. You can really see once he starts to get close to the turn in here, really extending that front stride. You can see him reaching there. Like to see the head down, and just everything is moving in one continuous motion. It looks good down here in the stretch. We talked about he's a little bit narrow up front, kind of almost what I refer to as like a little missile. Ears are flopping. Rider never really moves. He's going to ask him just a tad at the wire and gallop out a little bit, and Shug has to be happy with this. 59-2 on the out, 113 on the double out. Striding out well to the wire. If you like Code of Honor, there was nothing yesterday to knock it.
The track was fast, the time was fast, and Shug McGaughey was very happy with the move. Let's hear from him.
I thought he went very well. He went in hand, got over the track very well. I think the track, with the little rain we had, and after the air brake, it was a little quick, but he did it really the right way and galloped out well and seemed to come back fine. And we got 6 days for him to get over it. I think he's probably a little bit better on the outside when he makes his run. So hopefully we can, sort of be out there, and he might ride him just a little bit out of there, just to kind of get him in the bridle and go from there. But he's sort of more of a mid to back of the pack one run type of a horse. So I would be a bit surprised if he was up close.
Shug McGaughey won the Kentucky Derby in 2013 with Orb, and Code of Honor occupying the same stall. He's a May foal, Brandon, so I expect him to run well on Kentucky Derby Day, but the best may be in his future moving forward.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of things going for him. Shug's won the Derby before with Orb, and he's just the type of trainer. He's not going to come to a race like this unless he thinks he can win it. So he's here. He had a good work yesterday. Comes out of a race where it was a really slow pace, and his horse is a closer, so he's got a lot of things going for him. Also, Johnny V passing up a couple of Todd Pletcher horses to keep them out here on Code of Honor. That says a lot as well.
Two-time Kentucky Derby winning jockey Johnny Velasquez. Speaking of horses that have been working well, here's By My Standards again, and if you didn't know that this was yesterday, you'd think it was the work before or the work before or the work before that, because this horse has not missed a beat.
Yeah, hasn't missed a beat, just thriving right now, and this is what you're looking for. You're looking for that 3-year-old that's ready to peak on the first Saturday in May. A horse that went from breaking his maiden to winning a Grade 1. I mean, that's a big step up, but this horse handled it. He's ready for the next challenge. You've also got a veteran rider in Gabriel Saez aboard, and he's up here in the work looking good down the lane, but that confidence that a jockey that's a veteran that's been there before on the big stage, you can't really explain what it means to a horse like this that's lightly raced, made that big step up, and you can see he's kind of almost letting him shut down a little bit near the wire, but sneaky thing about this horse is he just loves to run. He's got a ton of stamina, and he'll give him a little tap here with the whip, and that was a big gallop out yesterday. That might have been the best gallop out we saw yesterday.
This horse is absolutely thriving right now. Brandon and I like what we see. Does Brett Calhoun feel the same way?
Went perfect. Didn't overdo it, didn't underdo it. It's very nice, relaxed move. Galloped out huge. Just great-minded horse. Does everything right. It's a little funny that he was a little bit slow to come around to break his maiden. But it's like once he broke his maiden, he kind of figured things out. Got a tremendous amount of confidence from that and moved forward. It's been a different animal since then. We always very high on him before, but he really turned things up a notch after his maiden win. It's been fortunate for me to gain an owner like Chester to put horses like this in my barn. We'll do a little paddock schooling on Tuesday, do a little more gate schooling. He stood in the gates yesterday, and he'll stand towards the end of the week in the gates. Just pretty routine stuff going into the Derby. I do think pole position's crucial. Obviously, we'll have to deal with whatever we get. But I don't want to get caught up in the mad dash in the first turn. Everybody's going to be jockeying for position. But obviously, he's going to have to get away clean. That's a key, I think, in the Derby, even though it's a mile and a quarter. There's so much traffic going in the first turn. I think you need to get away in good order and try to get a little position. But, yeah, he's going to be a little aggressive away from there, but they all are going to be.
The Chester that Brett Calhoun is referring to is Chester Thomas of Allied Racing from Madisonville, Kentucky, near Ellis Park, rooting for Chester Thomas. The Bob Baffert trio is now all here at Churchill Downs, and Probable got here first. He had a workout last week. He had a workout yesterday. Brandon, tell us what you see here.
Yeah, started several lengths behind a maiden here, and you can see he gets a little aggressive early on. Talked about yesterday, Florent Giroux aboard on Improbable. Did a great job of getting this horse to relax. You could tell he was a little keen. Talked about the weather, and even today, too, a little cold out here. These horses in this cold weather, they perk up a little bit. They get a little frisky. We saw Improbable coming out yesterday with the pony. He was looking a little frisky. So great job, Florent, here to get this horse to relax a little bit. And he kind of just sat on him a little bit here at the quarter pole. Didn't want him to do too much. Then he kind of lets the rein out. You'll see here in just a second. They're approaching the quarter pole, that big red pole you'll see in your screen here in just a second right there. And then he's just going to kind of let him out a little bit. He's got him to relax now. And then really here in about 5 seconds when you see this horse start to stride out, he's got a beautiful stride in here. And if you let this horse get in the clear in the Kentucky Derby and he doesn't have trouble and he gets to open up this beautiful stride he's got, there he goes right there. You can see him start to lengthen and drop his head. If he gets to do that, he's going to be extremely dangerous in here. Talked about his freak out in the Arkansas Derby with the blinkers. No blinkers for the drill here. You can see that beautiful stride I was talking about. Strong push from behind, and then another one that galloped out well.
Yeah, he might have the best extension of any horse in the field. And you got to remember, these horses are under a hold. These jockeys are not setting these horses down. When they set them down, they take their strides to a new level. Mentioned the other two Baffert horses have arrived. Game Winner on the track yesterday morning and on the track again early this morning. Game Winner, as soon as he came on the screen yesterday, Brandon, all you could say was wow. And here he is again this morning on the track at 6:30 a.m.
Yeah, he had that big 7 furlong workout just a couple days ago. So he flies across the country. Bob just going to take it easy with him, it looks like yesterday and then today. But you can tell he's getting a little antsy. He wants to do a little something, which is a good sign in there. We'll continue to monitor the development of this horse once he gets here to Churchill, but you can see on the screen there, kind of got that neck and bowed, and you can tell he's on the bit a little bit. He just wants to do a little something, and which is a good sign, Joe, in my opinion.
We saw Roadster on the racetrack for the first time yesterday as well. He did a little bit more, Brandon, and hope to see him again this morning when the designated training time starts a little bit more than 10 minutes from now.
Yeah, just a light jog in here. We'll see how Bob handles Roadster. We talked about it yesterday, too, just the individualization of Bob Baffert with his horses. And here he knows what they need. Game winner. Going to jog again today. We'll see what Roadster does. We saw the improbable work in company. Needed a little tightener. So, we'll see what Roadster does today. I wouldn't imagine it's going to be too much.
James Scully earlier talked to Michael Trombetta about the 4-team simulated race that we saw. But, James, I'm interested in your thoughts on the other workers from yesterday, improbable, etc.
Well, I'll just start with improbable. You guys were talking about Bob Baffert. He's got 3 serious contenders here this year, and improbable has looked great. He's worked twice here. I thought his gallop out was just phenomenal. That was really my take yesterday. I mean, by my standards, code of honor, improbable, all 3 of those horses just had superb workouts where they just kept going past the wire strong. And excited this morning, Joe, to see Omaha Beach back on the track. He stayed at the barn, walked around there yesterday. So we'll get to see the probable Kentucky Derby favorite back out here this morning.
All right, sounds good, James. And we'd like to welcome everybody watching on all of our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the Kentucky Derby website. We want you to participate, ask questions, give your opinions, get a little bit social in the room, and we'll get to as many questions as possible during the course of this show. 50-50 raffle at Churchill Downs once again this year. Enter on site or at derbygives.com. It benefits the Churchill Downs Foundation. 50% to the winner, 50% to charity, 100% worth it. Again, 50-50 raffle on site or online at derbygives.com. And also Restless Rider to Work.
With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today. With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today.
Welcome back to the Kentucky Derby Workout Show presented by TwinSpires.com. As you can see, it's the renovation break. Putting some water on the racetrack in preparation for the Derby and Oaks horses stepping out onto the racetrack momentarily. Track is fast, partly cloudy, 45 degrees. Don't forget, we are racing live tomorrow, Tuesday, here under the Twin Spires all the way through Kentucky Derby Day. Now, not all the horses are on the grounds here at Churchill Downs just yet. Vacoma, Cutting Humor, and Spinoff all had workouts at Palm Beach Downs. And, Brandon, we're going to start with Vacoma, the winner of the Bluegrass Stakes.
Yeah, you're going to see Majestic Dunhill on the inside here. This is a 4-year-old stakes winner and Vacoma's regular workmate. And Palm Beach Downs, also the home of Todd Pletcher. We're going to see some of his works in just a minute. Florida's a little bit different. They have several training facilities, Palm Beach Downs being one of them, a little more serene down there. So some of these guys, they want to keep their horses down there, keep them quiet, keep them happy. But you can see Vacoma here on the outside. And, look, you're going to have a lot made, maybe people that watch the Keeneland race for the first time, or they're going to see him move here for the first time. Vacoma has a bit of a paddling action on the left front, and you'll see it when he turns for home here. He's going to end up collaring the workmate.
Look at that.
You'll see it on the left there, a little bit on the right as well. As soon as he changes leads, there you go. He moves well through it, and that's the biggest thing in there. And he's got a strong push from behind. He moves well through it. He has tactical speed. You can see him go past the workmate in here. Not really asking the workmate too much, but decent move here from Vacoma. They'll actually finish up on even terms, and then they'll both want to gallop out a little bit.
Did you like that? I wasn't impressed.
I thought it was an okay drill. I would have liked to seen him do a little more, but this is an older workmate. But, yeah, you want to see a little more.
Cutting Humor is the next horse we're going to take a look at. No rider, as far as I know, has been named. Todd Pletcher, with more Kentucky Derby starters than anybody, has 2 in the race. Cutting Humor spinoff. Cutting Humor's first.
Yeah, and you're actually going to see him work solo in here. Now, this horse has a pretty good tactical foot. He has pretty good tactical speed, so you're going to see that he works solo in here. They probably didn't want him to do too much. He already went 48-1 at Palm Beach Downs, is a pretty quick time, deeper surface.
Right.
So I like this.
Good.
Yeah, no, it's going to end up being a good work in here. You can see the jock on him just has a light hold. This horse is reaching out well. He's wanting to do more. I'm expecting him to show some pace in the Derby, and this breeze is great here, and you're going to see him change leads on cue right there, and doesn't really nudge him too much down the lane. He's got the ears up, and this is a nice little work here down at Palm Beach Downs.
I'll tell you what, this is a horse that I was on the verge of completely throwing out. After seeing him, he's a good-looking individual. He does everything right. This is good work. A little bit of neck sweat there, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, it's Florida, a little humid. Not something that I'm really going to knock. Now, if he comes here and we're going to see more and more neck sweat, then that's something I might pay attention to.
Spinoff has improved with every start. He legitimized himself last time out by running second in the Louisiana Derby behind By My Standards. Lightly raced individual, Brandon, but like I said, he continues to get better.
Yeah, I thought his Louisiana Derby was good. I believe that on the outside here, this is a 3-year-old named Last Judgment, who was recently an allowance winner at Oaklawn over Desmond, who is trained by Bob Baffert in here. So pretty good work made. You can see Spinoff on the inside in here, and expect this one to be a very competitive drill. Took a look at it before. The work made on the outside gets a little headstrong in here. I wouldn't say it was rank, but he just kind of always wants to be up front, which is no problem. Spinoff sits back and relaxes, and you'd like to see this from a speed horse. Spinoff, plenty of speed. I think he's got more speed than he showed in Louisiana Derby, but Spinoff relaxed well off the workmate that was a little keen. You can see that right ear kind of flopping back, wanting to know, asking the rider, do you want me to do anything here? He's going to reach out pretty well to the wire, and then they're both going to be asked for gallop out as soon as they hit the wire here.
These horses will be arriving in the coming days from Florida. We'll get our first look at several horses, including the Japanese Master Fencer. A lot of people looking forward to seeing him. He's been training at Keeneland in recent days. Let's take a look at the Kentucky Oaks forecast. This, of course, coming up on Friday. And Brandon, cloudy, 68. Again, if these forecasts are accurate, I'm happy.
Yeah, no rain is good, and keep the humidity down, keep the horses under control. Sometimes the humidity is too much. Sometimes those horses get a little worked up. We don't want to see that.
Again, the Oaks drawn today. No changes in the 14-horse body of the field. A couple of horses on the outside looking in. Still looking for our first glance at Bellafina, the likely Oaks favorite, as we take a look at the remainder of the Oaks contenders.
Yeah, one thing I see, Joe, is a lot of speed on paper in here. So it'll be interesting to see tactically from the post draw how it's going to set up in here. You've got Serengeti Empress and a couple of others, Motion that like to be out in front. So post is going to be everything.
In their most recent start in the Santa Anita Oaks, Flor Del Mar got a look at Bellafina's heels. Now we're going to get a look at her.
Yeah, she looks good. They've considered her pretty special from day one. I don't think she's really shown as much as I think they've liked of her so far, but very leggy filly in here, I believe, by Tiz Now. So this is a runner that has talent, but it's one of those, typically the Tiz Nows will show development later on down the road. So they're still just kind of waiting, similar to like By My Standards when his light came on, still waiting for Flor Del Mar's light to come on.
A lot of activity on the racetrack yesterday. We showed you, easy for me to say, the Derby workers earlier, but some important Kentucky Oaks workouts as well. And Brandon, a lot of horse that's been one horse that's been getting a lot of hype in recent days is Champagne Anyone.
Yeah, the blinkers seemed to help a little bit last time. Now, maybe not the strongest of fields last time down at Gulfstream, but a horse on the improve in there along with Lady Apple, and then Street Band is a little intriguing to me, that the fact that Larry Jones is so good with his fillies and he gets them to peak at this time of the year.
As we send it to a break, as we await the designated time for the Oaks and Derby horses, there's Bob Baffert and the boss, Jill Baffert, next to him, talking about their Kentucky Derby trio. And the buzz continues to grow here at Churchill Downs.
With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today.
where the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. It's summer, the people are gay. The corn tops ripe and the fields are all in bloom, and the birds make music all the day.
Today, we share the best of Kentucky. It's our Woodford way.
With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today.
Owned by Speedway Stables, trained by five-time Kentucky Derby winner Bob Baffert, ridden by Florent Giroux on the first Saturday in May. Here is Roadster.
Yeah, it looks good out there. Neck bowed and just a little easy jog right now, and looks good. I mean, there's nothing to knock here. I wouldn't say he's, moving funny or anything. Just a solid jog and wanting to do a little more.
Second day here, Brandon. The activity will continue to increase as we move forward here, and we've got a Oaks filly on the outside of Roadster. Who is that?
Could Florida Lamar and Joe, I wouldn't be surprised
yeah.
if they're. You saw Jimmy Barnes on the pony there. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going over to the gate.
Yeah,
they were moving like they were maybe going over to the gate to do a little bit of schooling.
Likely Kentucky Derby favorite, Omaha Beach on the racetrack. We've been very impressed from what we've seen from this Dick Mandela charge in recent days.
Yeah, no, War of Will got a lot of publicity for his workout the other day. I thought, and personally, Omaha Beach worked better. Just love the way he relaxed down the lane, and then when he threw up that time of 59 and with the gallop out, I just liked what I saw from this one. Very relaxed, a horse that can show speed and then relax when you need him to. We saw Mike Smith make a little bit of an early move, and then the horse came back to him in the Arkansas Derby. I mean, that to be able to show those gears, that's a sign of a special horse.
Yeah, you mentioned Mike Smith, obviously well documented that he was a regular rider of Roadster, chose Omaha Beach over Bob Baffert, who he rode Triple Crown winner Justify for last year. And that tells you something about Mike Smith's confidence in Roadster, who has really gotten good, a horse that began his career on turf earlier in the year for Dick Mandela, who, has had a presence in the Kentucky Derby, but is 0 for 6 and hasn't had a starter since 2004. So great to have Hall of Famer Dick Mandela here. I would say quietly confident, but also at the same time kind of exuding some confidence as well.
Yeah, I listened to an interview Mike had a couple of days ago after he won a stakes race, and he said the fact that Dick Mandela is basically dancing over there at Churchill Downs, he said when he shows that kind of confidence, he's like, it gives me confidence.
I'd like to see Dick Mandela and Chester Thomas have a dance-off. That'd be a
charity.
Pay for admission to see that. Here's Long Range Toddy. He's expected to work, Brandon. You clock horses on a regular basis here at Churchill Downs. Monday is Steve Asmussen Day.
Yeah, and you can see Steve up on the pony there. I believe that's him, and he's just typical. They'll come out with the pony. Just a nice, easy walk to the front of the right by the finish line, and then I expect this horse to work solo. I expect him to work in 49 and change and just gallop out a tad. They're not going to do too much before the race.
Owned by Willis Horton Racing, LLC, trained by Steve Asmussen, who has 2 seconds and 2/3 from 19 Derby starters. And John Court, looking to become the oldest rider to ever ride in the Kentucky Derby at the age of 58. John has ridden in the Derby 3 previous times. Arch Optimizer and Will Take Charge back in 2013, his most recent Kentucky Derby mount. So Long Range Toddy right now just getting his hooves onto the racetrack. What will be the progression here with him as far as when we know he's going to break off into his work, and what is the plan from the time he steps out to the time he gallops out?
Yeah, they're just going to get him comfortable. You can see him with the pony in there. They'll come all the way back towards the finish line. They'll probably sit there for a minute and then let the horse look around. We saw Omaha Beach doing the same thing. Love when these trainers, and they know how to do this, they let these horses kind of take everything in first. There's no reason to rush out here and then start the breeze. Let them take everything in. The biggest thing is relaxing, getting the mindset right, bringing the horse to the front side, let him relax a little more, and then he'll go ahead and just start his journey out there. He'll work solo. Steve is a guy that will sit on the pony with a stopwatch, and he'll time the entire work. So if you're going too fast or you're going too slow, he'll let you know.
Is there such a thing as being too relaxed? at this stage, or no?
I don't think so. I mean, I think there's so much stress going in to the Triple Crown itself, the preparation in the mornings. I think just keeping the mind of the horse fresh is just as important as the body.
All right, Long Range Toddy's going to work, but that's not going to happen for a little while yet. Lots of activity on the racetrack here at Churchill Downs. I will try to give you some views of some of the other horses moving forward. And there's Omaha Beach again. I mean, this is a popular horse that everybody wants to see as much as possible, and obviously the next boat, and feeling good again this morning.
Yeah, I like to use the analogy after humans have a big workout, they are a little body sore, so you like to kind of bring back yourself slowly, get on the treadmill, do a little light jog, and that's what we're seeing here. He's just trying to stretch the muscles out a little bit in here. They're not going to do too much today. Just kind of let him stretch out a little bit, get some of that lactic acid out of the system, and you can see that the neck is bowed there. He's got the draw reins on, and they'll let him get into just a little bit of a gallop there. You can see the rider kind of play with the mane a little bit there, and this horse is feeling good out of the drill. We'll see when he starts coming around, but I like to see kind of that aggressive little reach up front, nice push from behind. It appears that Omaha Beach has come out of the work well.
Let's talk about the draw reins, because I know that By My Standards uses them as well, and Always Dreaming, the most famous recent horse to use the draw reins regularly, because he was a little bit headstrong in the mornings. They seem to give you a little bit more control of the horse.
Yeah, and they just try to keep the horse from doing too much, especially with these horses that can get a little aggressive. We heard Dick Mandela the other day talk about that this horse is sweet, but he's become a warrior now, and that's the biggest thing in here. Always Dreaming used them to success, and then we can,
Roadster doing a little bit more out there, Brandon?
Yeah, Roadster getting a little bit of a leg stretcher in here. Interesting. Talked about the individualization again. We'll probably wear that out, but that's why Bob is so good in there. Game winner, another light jog today after that big work. Roadster getting a little bit of a blow there. You can see it's a chilly morning. You can see him blowing a little bit after the gallop. We want to get a little more out of that today.
There's Omaha Beach again, and you mentioned that individualization, and a lot of the trainers will tell you they're only as good as their staff, and I would venture to say there's no better assistant and no better team than Bob Baffert and Jimmy Barnes.
Yeah, I mean, the record speaks for themselves, and Jimmy's had opportunities, I believe, to go out on his own, but he's chosen to stay with Bob. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, good job. There's Omaha Beach again. Again, the draw reins, Brandon, controlled. A lot of the neck bow situation that we see visually has to do with the draw reins, because they've got a tighter hold on the horse. But again, he wants to do a little bit more, but he's still relaxed in doing what the rider wants him to do, which is important.
Yeah, and you get these relationships between the exercise riders and the horses, and they listen to each other, and you can see there he doesn't want him to do too much. He's really kind of making sure that we're not going to do too much. Sometimes they'll even keep the watch on and just make sure, even though it's not a timed workout, they want to make sure they're clicking off those 16s every eighth, 16 seconds every eighth, or those 2-minute licks. They just want to make sure that they're doing exactly what Richard Mandela wants them to do.
Omaha Beach getting a nice steady gallop in this morning as he continues to progress towards the Kentucky Derby. First time we've seen Jaywalk on the track. Brandon, you were asking about me, asking me about her earlier, and I mean, God, she was so good at the end of last year. She won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Coming into this year, she was the favorite for the Kentucky Oaks, but there's really no other way to put it. She had things her own way in her first 2 starts this season in Florida and in Kentucky at Keeneland most recently in the Ashland over a racetrack that favored speed. She faded to third. Can she bounce back and become a factor in the Oaks?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough ask in there. She shows speed. She was so good. She was so good at 2, and sometimes those horses don't come back the same at 3 if they do so much at 2. So it's going to be interesting to see. We can see here on the screen, Mr. Steve just let go of Long Range Toddy, and he's just going to do the same thing that they did on the way out. And this is why you want to keep a horse relaxed on the way out, so they'll relax into the work in here. And exercise rider doing a good job here. Okay, you can see him now. He knows something's up. He's got away from the pony, knows something's up in here. He's going to do a little something. It's always funny to watch these horses. They're so smart, and the better ones are the smartest ones, but they know something's up. You can see those ears are pricked in there, and he's not going into a gallop yet, but he knows something's up today, something's different. And we're getting, look like Restless Rider on the screen here, Joe.
Yeah, there you go. So, she's supposed to work this morning Brandon, and she's obviously doing a little bit more at this point. This is the gallop out after the work.
Yeah, I was just going to say Brian is up there, and this is the gallop out of the work, and regular rider Brian Hernandez aboard, so back to long-range Toddy in there. But I'm sure we'll have that work on tape and be able to go back and kind of dissect it a little bit.
It's a difficult situation because you have long-range Toddy. We don't want to miss that work. So then you have Restless Rider. She just finishes her work. So it's a difficult balance when you're recording stuff, when you're filming stuff, when you're trying to show the viewer as much as you can. Don't want to miss the long-range Toddy work, and it looks like he's getting ready to break off here.
Yeah, you can see the rider just keeping the hands low. We talk about all the time with the exercise riders. When you have your hands up, you kind of just what we say, like get in the mouth of the horse a little more, but you get those hands to drop and you get the horse to relax a little bit, and you can see that the best exercise riders do that. They get those hands to drop a little bit and get this horse to relax. Now he knows he's going to do a little something in here. Going to break off from the half-mile pole coming up. It'll be a big red pole in there. We talk about the red poles. They separate each quarter mile around the track. So we've got one at the 6 furlong, the 4 furlong, and then the quarter mile in there. So he's into the breeze now. Okay, just check the watch there. I said Mr. Steve is at the finish line. He's got to stopwatch himself. And believe me, from being out here in the mornings, he seems like a great guy, but he wants his horses to do the best that they can and be the best they can going into the race. So if you're going too fast,
business, yeah,
it's serious business, serious money on the line. So if you're going too fast, he's going to let you know. He's on the pony. He's got the stopwatch in there, and you can see a good lead change here. Ears are up, and you'll probably see the rider check the watch here in just a second. Again, maybe just look down. There he goes right there, and then he'll finish up here to the wire. Now in these half-mile drills, the drill right before the race, he's not going to really ask him to gallop out too much, maybe an extra eighth of a mile. Ears are pricked at the finish line. He just flicked the ears back to see if he wanted him to do anything more. Then he's going to pull him out just a little wide around the turn and just finish up a little bit in there. I'm sure that's picture perfect for Mr. Steve.
Yeah, it was better. I mean, then the long-range Toddy last time was okay. I thought this was a little better. This has always been one of those horses that I've kind of been in between whether or not I like him, I don't like him, or somewhere stuck in the middle, because he's been very consistent all year. The Rebel win was highly impressive. He showed an explosive turn of foot that day, and you can give him an excuse for the Arkansas Derby with the wet track.
Yeah, the wet track, I think, even though he's got a little bit of breeding for the wet track, you just never know sometimes the first time they step foot on it. And another thing you like to see on the gallop out too, and I mentioned this with By My Standards the other day, is when the ears are pricked, but on the gallop out they're both flopping back at the same time. You just like to see that, knowing that the horse has much more to give, and that if you want it, that the horse will be there for you.
Again, we will report the workout times for Long Range Toddy as soon as they become available to us. But Brandon, you like what you saw?
Yeah, it was good. And the whole work itself, you want to watch everything from the way they break off, the way they gallop into the work itself, the gallop out, and then even the way they pull up. You want to make sure that the horses you want to make sure that the horses pull up the right way, and I believe we have a time in, Joe.
47 4/5.
So I'm a little surprised at the time, but the track is pretty quick. We'll see what Mr. Steve Asmussen has to say about that, but the horse did it easy. He looked like he was well within himself. But it is a little chilly out here. I saw them water the track, so it's a little tighter. It's been a fast track, so just the way he did it, though, you would think he'd be okay with it.
I've got the splits here again for these workout times. Great information, news and notes, all the news and notes that you want in regard to the Oaks and Derby horses. It's Derby Media as we take a look at Signal Man on the track. I'll give you these splits. Long Range Toddy, 12 3/5. 24 1/5, 35 4/5. Final official workout time for a half mile, 47 4/5. Galloping out 101 1/5. Before we get your thoughts, I'll give you Restless Rider. Splits of 12, 28 4/5, 36 3/5. 49 3/5 for the official half-mile workout time for Kenny McPeak. Galloping out 103 1/5. Slow gallop out time. We didn't see it, so it's tough to make any sort of real assessment of it.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like more of a maintenance type move for Restless Rider, and everybody. We talked about the individualization again. It's about what Restless Rider needs. Kenny McPeak maybe thinking just needs a nice maintenance breeze into the race, which is fine, and Mr. Steve had Long Range Toddy do a little more. I like to look at the last quarter miles to see how they finish up. Looks like Long Range Toddy in about 23 and change, so that's a good time around here.
When Brandon says Mr. Steve, he's referring to Steve Asmussen, and we call him Mr. Steve out of 110% respect. Leora on the racetrack here. She seems to be thriving. She's won over this racetrack. Upset winner of the Goldenrod at 27-1 for the Catman, Wayne Catalano. He ran her in the Silver Bullet Day at Fairgrounds when the field came up short. She was not cranked up for that race. She did not run well, but progression in the last 2 races moving forward, and she might be ready to compete on Oaks Day and bring her best as we look at another Fairgrounds-based horse from this past winter, Serengeti Empress.
Yeah, faced each other last time. Going back to Leora really quickly, didn't have the blinkers on there for the jog. They don't want her to do too much. You got a speed horse.
Right.
You don't want to put the blinkers on them in the mornings and have them do too much here. You can see Serengeti Empress getting a nice jog in. Ears are up. She's alert. She's feeling good. Don't see any real signs of anything to knock. And another one that's going to show big speed, and it's going to be an interesting battle up front early on.
Again, just for some background, Serengeti Empress was an easy winner of the Rachel Alexandra. She defeated Leora. She defeated Street Band very easily, convincingly. She was the odds-on favorite in the follow-up race at Fairgrounds Oaks. She had a breathing issue at the top of the stretch. She faded through the field, but she's come back and worked really well. When she's at her best, Serengeti Empress at the top of this 3-year-old filly class.
Yeah, and you can see Leora on the screen as well in there, getting her gallop in. She looks good.
Yeah, she does.
You know, I'm liking what I'm seeing in there. We've got the ears pricked, and you'll see her probably flick that right ear back once they get down the lane a little bit and just ask, you know, do you want me to do anything? You know, if you want me to, I will. But she's got a little bounce in her step in here, and she may have been perfectly positioned by the Catman to peak in this day. Got the blinkers went on last time, and kind of like the way she's moving over this surface, just a little bit of bounce. That's what you'd like to see.
Yeah, Wayne Catalano certainly has had a lot of success in his career, particularly with the females. We think about Dreaming Havana, Breeders' Cup winner. The Catman's done exceptionally well with those kinds, looking for his first Kentucky Oaks victory, but he seems to have a legitimate contender here in Leora, who appears to be coming up to the race as good as she can possibly be.
Yeah, beautiful ears there. We talk about the ears. It's just horses can't talk to us, so they're just letting us know through the ears how they're feeling, what they're basically doing out there. And, I mean, those ears just beautifully pricked up there. She's flicking it back and forth, letting the rider know, communicating to the rider that she's got plenty to give, and she'll even be willing to do something. So you like to see this out of a work, and really she worked a big work the other day. It was a big 59 work. So
Long Range Toddy getting ready to leave the track after his solid work this morning. Brandon, for people that are new to horse racing, just a little bit of the progression. Horses begin racing, some of them, most of them, good percentage of them at age 2. And you know, you have to try to figure out how good a horse is and what kind of competition they fit well with. Distance, surface, et cetera, et cetera. It's all a progression with these horses. That's what makes the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby so great, is it's only for 3-year-olds. So you lead up with the spring season, first Friday, first Saturday in May, and the job of these trainers is to get these horses to peak on those individual days and take their shot at the run for the Kentucky Oaks and the run for the Roses in the Kentucky Derby. There's a lot on the line here, not only purse-wise, but, you know, breeding-wise and sales-wise, et cetera, moving forward. It's just, horse racing is so involved. You and I love it for every aspect of it. And if you're interested in horse racing, learn more about it because you'll become fascinated.
Yeah, I mean, not only the fact that you win the Kentucky Derby, but that goes a long way for your stallion, right? So you talked about the breeding side of the industry, which is very big. It's a stallion-making race. I mean, there's no question about it. Your horse wins the Kentucky Derby. You've got farms calling. They want to come see the horse. If your filly wins the Oaks, I mean, she's got that Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks black type stamped on her pedigree for the rest of her life, and that just increases the value of her worth. You can see Leora here jogging off track. Had a great gallop today, I thought. Showed a lot of bounce in there, and one to maybe keep an eye on. Had a little bit of trouble coming back this year after she showed some promise, beating Restless Rider at 2, and maybe back on the improve in here, like what I saw this morning.
People joining us from all over the country, all over the world. Kelly from Oklahoma says hi, as does Cynthia in Buffalo. Wendy from Colorado, Corey all the way from the Netherlands, welcome. We've got some social media questions. Bethany from Facebook wants to know how Tacitus got his name. Well, Cornelius Tacitus was a senator and a historian of the Roman Empire, considered to be one of the greatest Roman historians of all time. We'll see if Tacitus can be one of the greatest racehorses of all time. That's asking a lot. Right now, we're just worried about Saturday.
Yeah, he overcame a lot in the Wood Memorial in there, and we'll see another runner coming in, actually two more runners, Tax and High Call, coming in as well. So, you really have to go back, and that's what you have us here for, you, James, Ed, the whole Scott, everybody at Twin Spires, to kind of dissect these races for us, and also bring you the morning training like we did today. I thought it was a good day. We didn't have a ton of action, but it's going to heat up. You've got the horses that worked yesterday, going to start probably coming back to the track tomorrow, and make sure you stay tuned in with us.
Yeah, we've got some arrivals, as we have another question from Rachel on Twitter, wanting to know about the Japanese mystery horse, Master Fencer. When's he coming to Churchill Downs, and does late shipping into the track affect his chances to win the Derby? He had to be in quarantine. He arrived in Chicago, and he actually went to Keeneland to train, which we all found interesting. He's been there for several days. I believe he's either on the grounds or he's going to get here after training today.
Yeah, I would assume they went to Keeneland for a little bit more of a quiet atmosphere. We saw Nyquist do that as well when Doug O'Neill had the horse. Master Fencer, a runner I'm very interested to take a look at, and Julian taking the mount. He knows Churchill well, so maybe a horse that can crash those exotics.
Yeah, I'm very curious to get a look at him with our own eyes for the first time, hopefully tomorrow morning, as we take a look back at Long Range Toddy's workout from today for Steve Asmussen. John Court, we're hoping to have John on tomorrow morning as a guest. Long Range Toddy did some nice work this morning.
Yeah, you can see the rider, we saw the whole progression in there. We saw Mr. Steve come out with the horse, keep him relaxed. He was relaxed into the work in there, and it didn't look like 47-4, Joe. I mean, that's what you want to see. We know the track is fast, but at the same time, he's checking the watch here, you can tell, and ears are just kind of relaxed, flopping a little bit at the quarter pole here, and see how much he wants him to do. He changes leads on cue. He's got a nice push from behind in there, and really the rider never moved his hands in there. You'll see him check the watch again, just want to make sure that he's not doing too much. There he goes right there, and then hit the wire. I thought he galloped out well, and I thought this was a good work and much quicker than I anticipated, but that could be the speed of the surface right now.
As a clocker, we'll look back at the workout tab, see how fast the times were in general. Again, just for a math lesson, and I failed geometry. I wasn't great at algebra, but I can tell you this: if you're looking on your screen and you see 47.8, that's 47.8 in decimal time, obviously, 47 4/5. You'll hear workout times referred to both ways. The old school way, we're talking in fifths. The new school ways, we're talking in decimals. You can get a little bit more accurate when you do it that way.
Yeah, and just to go into the math a little more, I talked about the last quarter. I like to see the last quarter mile times. You can go back and look at these splits that you find on the Derby media or anywhere and take a look at the last quarters and compare them, and sometimes you can find some gems in there, horses that are finishing their last quarters very strong.
Yeah, the visuals are important, even more so than the times, and that's why we have Brandon here to tell you his thoughts on the workouts, and we both like Long Range Toddy's move this morning. Let's find out what James Scully has to say about this move and anything else that's going on in the backstretch. James?
Well, I'll make three of them, Joe, because I like Long Range Toddy's move as well. We've seen him earlier last week, just galloping on the track. We saw his first breeze last Monday here, and I just thought today was his best day out there. I thought he was striding out more smooth and looked the best we've seen him. He's like a lot of horses in the field. I mean, he's one I cannot dismiss for a exotics contender, maybe third or fourth is what I could envision him running. And I like the fact that he has good tactical speed, and it brings him if you can draw a line through his effort in the Arkansas Derby on a wet track, he shows improving form over the winter into the spring. And Long Range Toddy is an intriguing horse, and Steve Asmussen, that's the one thing missing from his resume. So he'll do everything he can to have him primed for his best. Joe.
Well, thanks, James. And a couple of years ago, it was Looking at Lee who crashed the exotic party behind Always Dreaming. Thank you very much, Looking at Lee. Cashed that exact a few times.
Yeah, and we know Steve Asmussen can train a racehorse to win a big race. Gun runner, Curlin. I mean, Rachel Alexandra. We have no problem with Mr. Steve running big in this race, and I'm interested to get his take though tomorrow, and maybe we can track him down. But just to see what he thought about it, because typically you'll see the 50s before the race. So the fact that he worked 47 and 4, I'd be interested to hear what he thinks.
Yeah, I would be interested to hear what he thinks as well. We're interested to hear what you think on social media. Thanks for sending all those questions. There's a question that gets asked more than any other one, Brandon. You can probably guess what it is. Mike on Facebook in particular wants to know, who's your Derby pick? We'll ask you. I'll give you mine. James will give you his. But you got to remember, Mike, and everybody out there, the draw is tomorrow. The draw means so much. There's a lot of horses we haven't seen yet. I want to see Maximum Security in particular here on the racetrack in the next couple of days before I make my final determinations. My selections are due tomorrow night around 7 o'clock. So I'm caught on that deadline. But who's your pick right now if you had to make one?
You know, I think Omaha Beach is going to be tough. I will say that I'm one of those people that kind of waits till the very last minute. I want to get everything I can. The morning details are very important to me. I think a horse like Pax is very interesting to me, a horse that was given some time off before 2 months off before the last prep race. Got something out of it. He's extremely fit. He has tactical speed. For me, a horse like Tax is very interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with Maximum Security until I see him. If I see him and I don't like what I see, or he's going to work out today, I'm hoping to have video of that to show you tomorrow. Then I'll get off of him and I'll go in another direction. But Maximum Security for me, he debuted for a maiden claiming tag. As we take a look at the draw particulars for tomorrow, 10:45 a.m. It's presented by Ram. Kentucky Derby post position draw tomorrow. But I think Maximum Security is being overlooked for a lot of different reasons, and that should inflate his price. Derby draws tomorrow, but at least in the immediate, more importantly, the Kentucky Oaks draw is today. You can watch it over the same channels as you're watching this workout show, 10:45 in the morning. It's a full broadcast. Brandon Staubel, myself, Travis Stone will be hosting it, along with Ed DeRosa, getting some questions and answers during the session. 10:45 is when the show starts. The draw proceedings will begin at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Okay, so final thoughts. As you mentioned, not a lot going on workout-wise, Brandon. I'm going to say Restless Rider, didn't get to see her visually, but the time was not all that exciting. Didn't like what I saw from her last time. She's a horse that going into the Kentucky Oaks I thought would be a major contender. I'm starting to get off her a little bit because some of the others have impressed me more visually. That's my final thought.
Yeah, it needs to step it up, and you do need to see that progression from 2 to 3, and we haven't really seen that. Now, granted, she's only had one race, but we do need to see that. Some light jogs today. Horses worked yesterday. They didn't come out, so expect the action to pick up. It's always like this on Monday, but tune in. We're going to have more action as it gets closer to Derby.
Quick final thought.
Long Range Toddy went well today. No knocks there. Liked what I saw from Leora.
Looking forward to the Oaks job. Brandon will be joining me on set there as we give you the feel for the Longines Kentucky Oaks a little bit later on. We'll send it back to James on the backstretch. James, final thoughts?
Yeah, it's great to see those Baffert horses. They're Roadster and Game Winner doing a little bit more this morning, and excited to see them gallop next couple of mornings, Joe.
Can't be here at the Kentucky Derby with us. Too bad for you. We'd really like you to have an opportunity to be here, but not everyone can be. There'll be 170,000 people most likely. But if you can't make it, we understand. But you can't have the Kentucky Derby program at your disposal, whether you're a fan, a party host, a horse player, or a memorabilia collector, or potentially all of the above. It's KentuckyDerbyParty.com to order the programs. You will have them shipped right to your door in time for Kentucky Derby Day. And DerbyGives.com is the place to go to secure your raffle tickets for the 50/50 Kentucky Derby raffle. You can also enter on site. It benefits the Churchill Downs Foundation. Half to the winner, half to charity, 100% worth it. Again, Kentucky Derby 50/50 raffle. Enter on site or at DerbyGives.com. That's going to wrap it up for another edition of the Kentucky Derby Workout Show presented by TwinSpires.com. But we're not done. Tune back in at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time for the Kentucky Oaks Draw Show. We're going to draw the Kentucky Oaks today, a field of 14. We'll have interviews, we'll have the post positions, and a lot more. Again, 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time across the same channels. Enjoy the remainder of your Monday, everybody.